Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantel and today we're doing the bi-weekly wrap-up. So this is my every 2 weeks I do a quick recap of what I've been reading, what I'm currently reading, what I have next up on deck, and I'll often do a little bit at the end where I discuss the things that I've been watching, if I've been watching anything worth talking about. So that's what we're doing today. This might be a little bit of a shorter one because I have been slowing down a little bit with my reading. I've been sort of hunkering down and focusing on a couple of longer, denser titles. So I'm not doing quite as much, so I don't have quite as many individual books to talk about this time around, which is fine. It happens. So first of all, I want to talk about, I finished 2 books, I believe, since my last bi-weekly wrap-up, so just 2. I did finish Into the Dark by Claudia Gray. This is the first YA novel in Star Wars The High Republic series, Phase 1. And I don't know that I have much to say about it that I hadn't already said. I will just sort of reiterate that if you're interested at all in Star Wars, but you want a story that is a little bit more separated from the films, then The High Republic is a really good way to go with it. The High Republic does a really excellent job in general of like expanding the world of Star Wars, telling us stories set in the Star Wars universe that are different from anything we've seen in any of the Star Wars movies, and introducing us to characters that we have never seen in the movies. That is a big part of the beauty of the High Republic. And this book in particular, Into the Dark, is a very good example of that, actually. There's some amazing and unique creatures and aliens in here. There's some really great lore and world building that, again, just I can't imagine would ever really make it into the films. And there's some really great and unique characters in this book that probably would not translate very well to the screen. And Claudia Gray is particularly good at telling just really fun, engaging, emotional stories about these really interesting characters and exploring corners of the Star Wars universe that just wouldn't otherwise get to be explored. So this is a really fun read. It's a YA book, so it's not difficult. And again, it's really great, especially if you're someone who likes the world of Star Wars, but maybe wants to get a little bit away from the Skywalkers, you know? So that's this one. And then I also did finish The Worst Hard Time by Timothy Egan. So this is a nonfiction narrative about the Dust Bowl in the American High Plains in the 1930s. I also enjoyed this one. I do think I really appreciate the intimacy of the stories that he's telling, because he focuses in on several very specific people whose stories he was able to find through his research as a journalist, and I really appreciate that about what he's doing here, and the very specific stories that he's telling about very specific people and very specific circumstances. I really liked that. I think what I missed from this is because he's not a trained historian, he shies away from doing any serious analysis, making any connections, or drawing any real conclusions from all of this information that he has gathered, right? I think that's really the difference here between someone writing a sort of journalistic narrative pop history book and someone who is actually an academic historian, someone who is actually trained to not just do the research, which, let's be real, anybody can do research. It's not that difficult. You can do research on your own if you want to learn about a thing. But the trained historian then is trained to analyze those facts, analyze that research, make connections, draw some conclusions. I know a lot of people assume because you learn in grade school writing classes that like you need to keep your own personal opinions out of it, right? You're writing an essay. You need to keep your opinions out of your writing. You need to just focus on the facts. You need to focus on the text if you're, doing a book report or whatever. But actually, when you're in sort of academia, you learn very quickly that you're supposed to, in fact, draw conclusions. You're supposed to have some thoughts about what you're researching. There's supposed to be a point to the research beyond simply the research itself. You're supposed to be doing those conclusions, and other people may or may not agree with your conclusions, but you're all drawing from the same research. As long as your conclusions are supported by the research you've done, it's a potentially valid conclusion. And that's what I missed, I think, in this book. So it's a very enjoyable, engrossing, very readable kind of book, and I liked it a lot. I had fun with it. It's engaging, and I was very invested in the stories that Egan was telling, but I did miss the conclusions. I did miss, the way that a trained historian will actually actively make connections and actually have some thoughts and analysis and, yes, opinions about the things that they're talking about. So that's The Worst Hard Time by Timothy Egan. I do think it is worth a read. That's the only books that I've finished in the past 2 weeks. I am currently reading 2 books right now. The first is, of course, Emma by Jane Austen. This is my omnibus edition of Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, and Emma that I've had since I was a kid. It's what I primarily read from when I'm reading these 3 novels. And I'm about 60% of the way through Emma or so. I'm really enjoying my time with this. This is not a first time read for me. I've read Emma many times. It's one of my favorites. And it's just really fun. I'm having a good time. I love all of the characters. I love their distinct voices and personalities. I love the humor that's infused in it. I love Miss Bates. She is really annoying, but she's also very sweet and good-hearted. I think Emma is just a fantastic character on a fantastic arc, and this book is a real comfort read for me. So I'm thoroughly enjoying my reread of Emma, and I'm definitely sinking into it, let's say. And then the other big chonker that I'm currently working my way through is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. And I'm also thoroughly enjoying my time with this book. I think so far I would say that I do like The Grapes of Wrath better, though that may change. I'm only a little bit past the halfway point in East of Eden, so that may change. I'm still really, really, really enjoying East of Eden, though. I think it's very operatic in a way. That's what it strikes me as, is operatic. And it's very much, I feel like in some ways it's very much larger in scope than The Grapes of Wrath was. The Grapes of Wrath is very much a very close, intimate kind of portrait of a very specific family in a very specific point in time, whereas East of Eden, I think, is broader and bigger than that. It's still about like a couple of different families, but it's, the time frame is much bigger, and there's a lot more of the memoir in some places with this book, but it also is, again, sometimes just quite big and operatic in its ideas, I think. I particularly enjoyed Lee as a character. I'm really loving Lee. I also really loved Samuel Hamilton. I think he's a really great character. I love the this wonderful exegesis that Lee does of the Cain and Abel story in the book of Genesis, where he went to some of the elders of his family, and they all sort of undertook this journey of learning Hebrew so that they could read sort of the original, the original version of the book of Genesis, and actually do like a really close exegesis of the story. And it's amazing when he says, "Don't you see," he cried, "the American Standard Translation orders men to triumph over sin, and you can call sin ignorance. The King James translation makes a promise in 'thou shalt,' meaning that men will surely triumph over sin. But the Hebrew word, the word timshel, 'thou mayest,' that gives a choice. It might be the most important word in the world. That says the way is open. That throws it right back on a man. For if thou mayest, it is also true that thou mayest not." I love that. I think that's great. The idea of, free choice, right? The idea that we make our own decisions. We may or may not triumph over sin, depending on what we choose to do with our lives. That is very much how I see the world, and I really like that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying my time with East of Eden. I'm taking my time with it. So I'm not even sure if I'm going to finish it this month. I know that, our reading group, there's a Voxer chat for it, are sort of working our way through it. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish it this month, but I am definitely enjoying my time with it. I'm not worried about when I finish it, frankly, because it's very, there's a lot here. There's a lot going on, and I'm okay with taking a little extra time with it to really let it sink in and work its magic on me. So yeah, I'm so grateful that some folks came up with this whole Summer Steinbeck thing, because it really pushed me into this, and I'm really, really liking John Steinbeck, so I'm gonna have to read a whole lot more of his stuff. We're gonna definitely do more of a deep dive going forward on him, because I'm really, really enjoying both of these novels. So that's what I'm currently reading, and that's all I'm currently reading. I do have a couple on deck. I do have, from my library, I did pick up Jane Austen's bookshelf. I've been sitting on this for a week, so I'm probably going to try to start it today, because I've already been sitting on it for a week, and I don't like doing that with library books. I like to get them going. So and I also currently don't have a nonfiction book on the go, so I'd like to have a nonfiction book on the go. So we're going to probably start this today. I'm really looking forward to this. This seems like it's going to be right up my alley. Sort of a memoir plus some research into, other female authors of Jane Austen's time that I'm potentially interested in reading from. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I've heard really good things about it. The other thing I have on deck is another Jane Austen July pick, and that is The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow. This is the novel about Mary Bennet, the middle Bennet sister. And yeah, I haven't read a good sort of historical fiction in a while, and this has been sitting on my TBR shelf for like over a year now. I need to get it read. I want to get it off my TBR shelf. So I'm definitely going to be trying to pick this up soon. How soon? I don't know, because again, I'm taking my time with East of Eden. I'm taking my time with Emma, so I'm not sure if I'm even going to be able to. I'll try to start this in July, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'll do it in August. If I don't get to it in July, it's fine. So that's what I got. The only other thing I've got is I did see the new Superman movie last weekend. I really enjoyed it. Personally, I really like the return of Superman to being the big blue Boy Scout. I like a story about a decent person trying to do the right thing because it's the right thing. I think in general, those are the stories that tend to work best for me. And especially right now, the way the world is, with so many just mean and nasty people who feel empowered to be mean and nasty, it's just a refreshing escape to be able to sit with a character who just wants to be a good person. Just wants to be a good person. And I also really like James Gunn's direction. I've always appreciated the Guardians of the Galaxy films for the way in which they're not afraid to be silly, but also not afraid to be earnest and wear their heart on their sleeve. And that is exactly, I think, what worked for me in Superman as well. It translated very well to Superman, in my opinion. I think it worked great. There's a lot of really funny, silly, ridiculous moments that invite you to laugh at it. And there's also a lot of moments where it's really wearing its heart on its sleeve, and it's really not afraid to be earnest, and it's really not afraid to get emotional. And I like that as well. And I think it really does strike a great balance between those two things. So I did thoroughly enjoy my time with Superman. I thought it was a great time. I actually do highly recommend you watch it. I know a lot of people are experiencing sort of superhero burnout. This is definitely a good antidote to superhero burnout, in my opinion. So yeah, that's what I got. That's my bi-weekly wrap-up. What do you think of these books? What are you reading lately? What have you watched lately? Have you watched a new Superman? Let me know in the comments. Like this video if you want. Subscribe if you would like to see more from me. And we will see you in the next one. Bye.